Hi everyone, and thanks for signing in onto Periscope. So this evening I am just chatting you very briefly about embroidery and how embroidery benefits your brows. So basically we've been doing embroidery in the salon for the last year, and what I discovered when working with clients was that high definition brows have been on in for a good few years, and a lot of people wanted the next step up for brows. So for people who had just had permanent gaps, they just wanted a way to fill back the hair post alopecia, post chemo. How could they get their brows back? And so really I researched embroidery for nearly about 2 years before I decided to bite the bullet and finally get the training done. So embroidery, I suppose the founder of embroidery is Elaine McParland, who's based in Greystones in Ireland, and her company and her brand is Embrowdery, or embroidery.ie. So thankfully I found Elaine, and the last year we have been carrying out embroidery treatments here at our salon in Tullamore in Offaly, and we're having some great results. The thing I find the most difficult is a lot of people have questions. What is embroidery? How does it work? How does it differ from the term microblading? Excuse me. So basically I'm just trying to explain this a little bit about embroidery tonight and see, does it help for anyone who's thinking of maybe getting the treatment done. So first of all, embroidery works to give a hair-like finish to the skin. So it works and looks like you have actual hairs in your brows, but it's actually a stroke of pigment. So I actually have mine done this evening. I don't have them filled, so it's just to see. I suppose years ago from over tweezing, I had this kind of circular shape with lots of permanent pigment, permanent gaps in here, and I'll actually put up some photos on our website after, so you can kind of see a little bit more clearly. So basically what embroidery does is just gives you your brow back as it was naturally intended. So the main difference is it's not a high definition brow. You can fill in when you put on makeup to make the brows look, made up as such, but generally embroidery is designed to give you your natural day brow as it was intended for your facial structure. So basically the full treatment involves 3 visits with a 4-week rest period or healing period in between. So really you're looking at a commitment of about 3 months to get the full treatment of embroidery done. After that you won't need to return to the salon for about 12 to 18 months, and that's where you will get kind of a colour refresher or top up on the brows. And I actually had mine done last week with Elaine herself up in Greystones. So really I just had that kind of nice top up on my colour, and I only have to go, it was about 14 months. So I mean, you definitely get the value out of it. So basically getting back to how embroidery works, what's the difference between embroidery and microblading? Embroidery doesn't cut the skin. So a lot of people hear things like cutting the skin, lots of bleeding. Embroidery doesn't do that. We have a handheld tool, and at the end of that there's several fine needles. We dip that into pigment, and literally we move the needle slightly upwards onto the epidermis, and it's like a little prick. And what it feels like having had it done is it's like continuous plucking. So continuous plucking of the brows, and if you can handle that, you can handle embroidery. So basically what we do is we dip the pigment and pop it in onto the brow in the shape of a stroke of hair, and that can work through the whole brow to design a shape obviously that suits your structure and your shape of your face. After that you're looking at about 4 weeks healing period after the first visit. In that time, by the time you come back to your second visit, we will expect 70% of the pigment to have faded or sank into the skin. And over the 4 weeks what happens is basically the pigment is dragged down through the 8 layers of epidermis in quite a soft way to rest on the dermis. And in that time basically the immune system doesn't react as aggressively as it would to a brow machine, where you're penetrating into those 8 layers quite aggressively, and this is where you can kind of get odd shapes and an odd kind of colour distortion. So when you come back for the second visit then, we expect about 50 to 70% of your pigment will have sank through the skin, and this allows us to see how the skin has taken to the pigment, but also that if we need to make any changes to the shape or to the colour, we can do that in the second treatment. After the second treatment is completed, we kind of regard it more as semi-permanent, And the third visit then is 4 weeks later, and it's where we do kind of a colour refresher or final top up on the brow. After that, your brows are good for about 12 to 18 months, depending on how your skin naturally holds pigment. So some people may need to come back after 12 months, some people will get a little bit longer out of that as well. So in terms of then brow tattooing, as I was saying to you, brow tattooing uses kind of a machine which punctures into the skin a bit more aggressively. So the immune system just reacts a little bit differently to that, and that's where you can see kind of bluey green tinges on the colour, or kind of this brick red tinge on the colour. A lot of people have questions then about the colour itself. How do I choose the colour of my brows? Am I going to end up with mad dark looking brows? So basically we decide the colour like you would mix up a hair colour. So we have lots of different pigments to choose from, and basically using colour theory we're able to match up with your general undertone and get a brow colour to suit you. And this can be adjusted as we go through the treatment. So the other thing I would say to people is that it's not set in stone. Like after the first visit, you're not committed to it. So by the time you come back for the second visit, if you want to make any changes, you can do. So you're really not committed until the second visit. So if after the first treatment you decided you never wanted to get embroidery done again, you can simply let the immune system just flush out the pigment and you're back to square one. So that's the beauty of why I was attracted to embroidery, is that it's a progressive treatment. And we work with the client to design the brows that are best suited to them and to their face shape as well. So really they're getting a really, really good, nicely designed brow, and they're getting their brow back at the end of it. So what I was going to do is I'm going to send up some links on my website to some of our recent work. Some of the links on our website, reveal.ie, where we have a lot more about embroidery explained. So if any of you are thinking of coming in to get embroidery done, normally what I would recommend is to book in a consultation with us through the website or by giving us a call, and all the details are on the website. There we can kind of meet you in person, go through how it works, show you some photos and the consultation, and go from there. But embroidery, definitely if you're looking for the next step in brows, where you find that high definition brows are just not lasting for you, and that you just have permanent gaps there, or lots of sections of your brow missing, then this is the answer to that for you. So as I said, I'm going to put up some links on our website. Thank you for watching, and see you soon. Bye.